Alright, so the goal for you guys today is for you to be able to solve percents using proportions. Alright, and something you always want to remember is that percents are always out of 100. Alright, always. For example, 28%, well, if you wanted to write that as a ratio or as a fraction, whatever, that would be 28 out of, right, or over 100. Alright, percents always out of 100. So, for example, if I asked you, what is 40% of 280? Well, the easy way to solve that is to set up two ratios that are proportional to each other. Alright, now, 40 over 100, that represents the 40%, right? 40 out of 100. But we're trying to figure out what 40% of 280 is. Well, so we're trying to figure out what 40% of 280 is. So 280 is our total for our other ratio, but we don't know what 40% of 280 is. So I'm going to call that x, because we don't know what it is. So we're going to use a variable. Then all I have to do is what we've already done in the past. Cross multiply. Alright, 100 times x is 100x. 280 times 40 is 11,200. Alright, now I'm going to move this up over here because I don't got much room down here. So I've got 100x equals 11,200. Well, how do you get rid of that x? Or sorry, how do you get rid of the 100 attached to the x? Well, since it's being multiplied, the inverse would be divided by. So I'm going to divide both sides by 100. And when I do that, x ends up equaling 112. So to answer our question, what is 40% of 280? Well, 40% of 280 is exactly 112. Alright, before we used double number lines to figure out about what a percentage was of a number. Now we're finding out the exact percentage. Alright, so we're not rounding, we're not estimating, we're not trying to get close to our answer. We're trying to get the exact answer. Alright, and this is the method I want you guys to use. Alright, because I think this is going to be the easiest. So, next slide. Alright, first problem. Alright, let's say out of 250 marbles, you're told that 52% of them are blue. So we ask, alright, how many of those marbles are blue then? Well, I set up two ratios. I've got 52 out of 100, right, because that's the percentage, 52 out of 100. And we're trying to figure out how many out of 250 are blue. Alright, so I set up two ratios equivalent to each other. 100 times b is 100b, and 250 times 52 is 13,000. Then, move it over here. In order to get rid of the 100 attached to the b, I divide by 100, and then I do the same thing to the other side. When I do that, the amount of blue marbles ends up being 130. So, what is 52% of 250? 130. Alright, next one. 18 of 120 students are 14 years old. I want to figure out what percentage of the class is 14 years old. Or maybe that's 120 students total that you teach or that I teach. Alright, 18 of them are 14 years old. What percent is that? Well, now I'm trying to figure out the percentage. Alright, so my percent over 100, I don't know what my percent is, so I'm going to use P to represent that percent. Okay, and on the other side, I already have my ratio. I was given it right away in the question. 18 out of 120. So 18 over 120. And it's set equal to that ratio. So then I cross multiply. 120 times P is 120P. 18 times 100 is 1800 or 1800. Then, to get P all by itself, the percent, I have to divide both sides by 120. And when I do that, P ends up equaling 15, which is 15%. So, 18 out of 120 students are 14 years old. That means that 15% of those 120 students are 14 years old. Alright, now, what I want you to do is number 3 and number 4. I want you guys to try and solve these two problems on your own using the same methods I just went over with you. Alright, try and give these a shot, see if you get them right. Pause the video and I'll be right back to go over them. Alright, so number 3. If Malik wants to earn a 93% on his test, and the test is out of 50 points, what does his score have to be? Alright, well, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to set up two ratios. Well, I'm trying to figure out what his score needs to be out of 50. So that means that I don't know what the score is. I'm going to call that, well, I'm going to say P for points. I'm going to call this P over 50 equals, and then my percentage is 93%, so it's going to be 93 over 100. Now what I need to do is I need to cross multiply, so I'm going to cross multiply. And my work is going to be moved over here because I don't have a whole lot of room. So when I do 100 times P, I get 100P. Equals. And then when I do 93 times 50, I'm going to get, well, let me see, I got to do that in my head. 4,500. 4,650. 4,650. Alright, and now I need to figure out how am I going to get P all by itself. Well, you should have divided both sides by 100. So divide this side by 100. And the other side by 100. Alright, so that the 100s cancel out. Now, all we've got left is P, and when I divide 4,650 by 100, I get P ends up equaling 46.5. So, if Malik wants to get a 93% on his test, and this test is out of 50 points, Malik needs to get a 46.5, at least a 46.5 out of 50 to get that 93%, to get that A. Alright, next. 42 of the 60 animals at the shop are cats, and I want to know what percent that is. Okay, so, look, you're already given the first ratio. You have 42 out of 60. So 42 out of 60. So I'm going to write 42 out of 60 equals, I'm trying to find the percent. So I'm going to use P for my variable. And it's going to be out of 100 because percents are always out of 100. And now we need to cross multiply. So cross multiply. Bring my work over here. 60 times P is 60P. And 42 times 100 is 4,200. Alright, so now I need to get the P all by itself, so I need to divide by 60 on both sides. So 60s are gone. These 60s cancel out. Bring my work over here for the last part. P is going to be all by itself. And when I divide 4,200 or 4,200 by 60, I end up getting 70. So what's my percentage? 70%. So 42 out of 60. If that many of the animals are cats, that means that 70% of the animals at that shop are cats. Alright, so that's it. But we're going to be working on a lot more problems like this tomorrow and the next day. Alright, so hopefully, if you got any questions, you'll get them answered before class starts, and we can get started. All right, see you.